Hey, I'm trying to figure out how to do my little pin, and I think I missed it. Hello, everybody. I'm gonna try this again. Let's see. Hmm. Well, Ray, I tried. I can't get the little pin there at the beginning. I see the little dots. This is why I put that little sign there, so it'd be a little bit less awkward while I'm getting this moving, but it just keeps disappearing once I start typing, so we're gonna leave it. But hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday to you all. So, we're gonna get started in just a few minutes here. Let some folks join us. So maybe while we're getting started, let me know where you're coming from today, because I know there are some friends from my personal feed coming from the Arts Do community, so that way everyone can kind of get a feel for where your name and for where you're coming from. So that's Ray. Ray's our fearless dreamer, as I call her in the group. She's the one who started Arts Do. Hello! Yay, friends! So we're going to get started in just a sec, but I wanted to let you know if you have any questions specifically about handmade business or creative process, let me know. Oh, that's my mama from Sierra Madre. Hey, Mom. Yeah, let me know if there are any questions. I'll have a couple opportunities where you can type those in the comments later. Hey, Sarah. Yay, you made it. She's a friend who I've done craft shows with, so if we talk about craft shows, she's a pro on that too. Hey, Jackie. You made it. Yay. So fun seeing all of your lovely names pop up. Oh, my dad's here too. Yay, wow. This is my first ever live broadcast, folks, so thanks for bearing with me while I get my act together. Okay, so it looks like there are a lot of lovely people here today. So I'm going to actually turn the camera around and not be shy. You're going to get a little preview of my desk space here as I get this to turn. That's my handy, sorry, literally. Okay. Let's see if that's, ooh, that's bright. Let's see if we can change. Hey everybody. Let's darken the screen a little bit. Yay! Hello! So my name is Kimberly, and I'm the artist behind Lacelet, which is a stationery and home goods line of cards and art prints, calendars, that sort of thing. And I am kind of a geek when it comes to small business, entrepreneurship, creative, making a living at what you do as an artist. So, oh, thanks, Ray. Yes, I was sick and I had to postpone. So this is the postponed, rescheduled Tuesday tips. So I thought I would go ahead and just jump right in so we have time for everything. And maybe I was overzealous and planned too much, but we'll see. But I wanted to start with giving a little bit of background about how I got started. This was a question from my friend Jackie, who's here today, Wondershins. She had asked if I could give a little bit of background about how I got started with Lacelet, and then maybe show a couple samples of what my work was like when it started, which is just now 5 years ago. and then where it's kind of progressed. So I'm going to go ahead and start with that. So I started Lacelet in 2014, January. I had never really done much art or illustration growing up, and started to notice that I doodled in the margins of things a lot, and my diaries and journals would have like all of these different fonts based on my mood. So because of that, I started to kind of doodle intentionally for the first time. And the first things that started coming out from that were these little, I call them starlets. And they're created from a 6-pointed flame. You can see that each one of them has 6 points there. And I discovered that I could just do these kind of amoeba strips or style pieces from them, and then started realizing that I could actually make other things from the same type of shape. So this was part of my wedding invitation. And then I started to get into more geometric, and started to pull from, manipulating the little 6-pointed flame into like different shapes and patterns. So this is actually where the name Lacelet comes from, because you can tell that it kind of has a lace-like quality to it. It's very delicate. And then because of those little 6-pointed flames, they remind me of light. So that's where the lit part comes from. So Lacelet. So these are the first. I got kind of more like darker or more minimalist geometrics and started doing some black and whites. So that's kind of where the name Lacelet came from. Then from there, I started realizing I enjoyed color. So I started exploring with patterns, watercolor patterns. And that brought me to do things like this, which required a grid. Really, this requires a lot of lines and rulers and maybe some tears. And realized I did a couple of those and realized that they just weren't very liberating, because you had so many rules to follow, and I'm a little bit of a rebel when it comes to things like that. And I can sit still for a long time and paint, but I need to feel like there's motion. I need to feel like there's something that I'm moving somewhere. So then I was like, okay, so maybe I will try to do patterns that what I call them now is called freehand watercolor patterns, meaning that there's no lines, there's no stencil, there's no, the measurement at all. And you just eyeball everything, which means that there's like a very imperfect symmetry, as I call it, imperfect symmetry to it. So that's where this came from, this style, where you're literally like starting somewhere and filling it in until there's no more space. So that was a lot more satisfying, because it was kind of a mystery of like, I really didn't know when I was just right here what it was going to look like by the end. And that was exciting to me. And I could also change my mind midway and make it do something else. So that felt a lot better, and I was getting like closer. And here's another example of something like that, where you just fill in until the page is done. Oh, thanks for the hearts. So sweet. And then I started getting more intricate, because like you do something and then I don't know about you, but I get bored and I want to keep going doing something else. So then I thought like, okay, well maybe I can do actually this is upside down, some layering, see what else I could come up with. So the watercolor patterns were really like my big introduction into color at all, and playing with watercolors a lot more. Now, I do a lot more. I have a couple different types of patterns, and I've named them because I'm a geek like that. And with these patterns, like this one is, you do eyeball it, but you're also doing spacing as well. So this is one of my favorites ever. So that style and like this style, I call this follow the leader. You get the point. This one I call Space Invaders, because you're invading space. I'm super fun like that. But as you can kind of tell the difference between them, how my interests kind of progressed of, okay, now I want something different. So all that to say, that was my introduction into color. And from there, I had quite a journey because I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier, but I did not have an art background. And so I discovered art when I was in my mid-20s for the first time. I was in performing arts before that. So dance, theater, choreography, music. And so, oh, thanks, Ray. I love that you love the names. Of course you would love the names because you're fun like that. So all that to say, I feel like I'm doing a lot of catching up, trying to figure out, what to do, how to hone my craft and all that sort of thing. So I decided eventually that I've always loved stationery. I've always loved paper. When I was a child, I would literally save up my money to go with my mom and my sisters down to Little Tokyo, to the Kinokuniya bookstore, and save up my money to buy stationery sets. Like, that's what I would do. So, of course, my natural inclination was to figure out a way to open a card line and start doing that. At the time, I was thinking more stationery and really not greeting cards, which is where I end up. So that's part of the story. So I started, and you can tell it's very much like the original style, where I basically just stuck one of those on there and gave it a sentiment. This one says, "Because of you, I am me." And very, very simple. I started to play with some calligraphy, which I'll explain why, but it was a little bit too formal for my quirky personality, so I ended up going away from that. But you can tell it's very much like simple, minimalist, the lace design with a message. And from there, I started to play with a little bit of illustration. I was really nervous because my older sister is a really great illustrator, and I had always been like, oh, that's her thing. So it was a while before I really started doing it, and started doing kind of really simple things where I was like, well, I think I can make this look like a real thing. So, but you again can see there's that lace, like I still use the teardrops to like kind of make up everything. So that kind of became my next phase of my work, and it started to actually become more of greeting cards. The story is taking longer than I thought it would. Sorry. And then this amazing opportunity happened where I was asked to illustrate and hand letter a book of poetry by a blogger named Jet Wadick, and I will somehow find a way to let you know where you can find her work. But she asked if she could hire me to do that, and I was very tentative because I felt like, well, I can do the lettering, but I don't think illustration is my thing. It was a really awesome process. I got to work with an incredible creative director, Kristen, who was incidentally a friend from a previous job, so that was awesome. Thanks for all the lovely comments, everybody. So the end result it actually worked out. And through the process, I'll just show you maybe like one of my favorites. Through the process, I, decided, oh, this is the thing. This is the thing that I really love. I love all of the other things too, but this is the one, the illustrative element, and that mixed with the lettering, that's what I there's never any, I don't get tired of it. I get tired from it, but I don't get tired of it. So all that to say, it kind of like awakened something in me that really like brought me to an entirely different goal with my art business. So now I do identify more as an illustrator, and I ended up getting to do a second book with her too, which was awesome. But for the sake of time and getting to all of the actual business chat, I'm going to plow through, and if you have any questions about some of that, we could chat later. But now my card designs are like 100% illustration and lettering. So it's just completely shifted through like one incredible opportunity that someone gave me a chance to getting to do stuff like that. And then I told you I was gonna mention how my lettering changed. You had seen the like calligraphy style at the beginning, which was very much like very formal. But my personality is much more like quirky. And so that kind of developed over time as well. And that's what's kind of brought me to where I am now. So that's the answer to Jackie's lovely question. And I've made a mess all over my desk here. So I'm going to like kind of put these aside. But that is, that's where I'm at now. And my newest thing is doing collections where I get to like do a whole bunch of the same theme. And recently got to do an art show where I actually did like an illustration for the sake of an illustration. And that was pretty, I got to do 2 pieces and that was pretty awesome. So all that to say, it's really kind of encouraging to me that you never really know necessarily where when you start out, you can't see the middle, you can't see the end, and you're just going to continue growing and exploring through your process. Oh, thank you so much, Tessa. Oh, so sweet. I love everybody's comments. So that's the background of where I am. And now I run my art business while I simultaneously do have a job that I work at from 8 to 5 every day, or Monday through Friday, I should say. And I work with a really wonderful team of people in communications and marketing at a university. And that, I've learned so much from all of them, which is incredible. But lacelet and illustrating is definitely this growing, burning passion that I have. And so one of the things I love most is geeking out about small business because I'm very passionate about it. So I did a poll in the Facebook group a few weeks ago and asked everyone what they might be interested in chatting about in today's Tuesday Tips. And the number one thing that most people were voting for was kind of like what it takes, what's kind of like a checklist of things you want to be thinking about when you're starting your business. And I actually have a little guide I've been putting together because as I was going through the process of starting my business, I realized, wow, there's like so much I don't know and so much I need to know. And if I didn't have the help that I had from various people, it would have been that much tougher. So I'm going to share a little bit about some of the like bullet points of what I think is really important. And if you want more info on any of that at the end, you can always, or actually anytime, you can DM me your email address and I'd be happy to send you my little guide, which I only send to friends right now. I'm actually working on it as maybe something I'll offer in the future. But for all of you lovely people, I will give it to you. So so the number one thing is it might not sound very fun or interesting, but I think it's really important to set a really strong foundation for your business from the business standpoint. Not the fun, like let's design my brand, let's design all of my beautiful work. You're already creative. Like that's the stuff that's going to probably come pretty easily. The tough part is setting that foundation of checking your business name, making sure no one has that business name already, making sure that your domain name is open so you can have a .com someday, checking Instagram and social media handles to make sure that you'll be able to claim those, or go ahead and claim them now, so that you can have a cohesive presence online. So some of those things are not super fun. Probably the least fun is getting your business license and also your seller's permit. But you really need your seller's permit to legally sell. So that's really big. I know a lot of times it's tempting to just jump in and open your shop because you're really excited. And if you have done that already, that's okay. You can still get your business license. But I really encourage you to do that before you open your shop because that way it's basically just making sure you don't have to backtrack later. So if for some reason you're at a craft show and someone's like, where's your business license? you don't have to close your shop and lose some of that momentum. That happened to somebody, a friend of a friend. So I always say I'm a rule follower in some ways, which is make sure you cover your bases, and then outside of that, that's, with your art, you can break the rules, but it's helpful to get everything set up on a strong foundation at the beginning. So your business license and your seller's permit, that's going to really depend on your state and your city or country. I know some of us are in different places. So you definitely want to do the research for for where you are. If anybody's in California, I can give you a little bit more info on that because that's where I am. But I also have some resources of like where you can go to kind of learn more about this stuff. So let me know if you want that. So that's kind of my quick cheat sheet. But again, if you have more info or you're interested in getting more info, just DM me your email address and I can send you more of what I have. I have all of this in much more lengthy detail than you probably want to know. So, so that's it. Oh, hey, Ian. So I'm going to move on from that because it can get kind of technical, but that's my general stance is get that set up first and then you're smooth sailing. And that way also, if you get a really cool opportunity to do a collaboration or to be sponsored or to be highlighted on a blog, you don't have to worry about, oh no, but what if there's this hiccup and I have to like go backwards 10 steps and start over. So it's just kind of giving you smooth sailing, and I'm all about getting rid of obstacles so that you can just take those opportunities whenever they come. So that's my stance on that. The other topic that came up, which was really awesome in the Facebook group, was the idea of how do you grow your business when you are working part-time or full-time. So there's a lot of good benefits for that. And one of them is some people do, just kind of quit their job and go for it. Again, I'm kind of a cautious person, so I'm still working full time, as you know. And I do think it's really helpful to have that steady income and benefits, potential benefits coming in so that it's just a little bit less risk when you're building up your client base and you're building up your products so that you don't have to basically be doing everything you possibly can just to pay the bills. So I really love that, having something steady that can come in. It doesn't mean it's easy because it's obviously like a lot of time and energy to devote to two different jobs. But I think there is something to be said for that can just reduce the financial risk and make it a little bit less stressful so you can enjoy building up your business instead of constantly worrying about it. With that, though, definitely means that your growth is going to be a little bit slower, and I like to say it's organic because it's one step at a time. But I think it's really sustainable because I'm not going in the red to do it, and I can slowly save because I'm not reliant on that income yet. So a couple tips, and feel free to let me know if you have any specific questions. I'm kind of speeding through this, and I apologize if I'm talking too fast. I get excited and I kind of go fast, so a couple tips that I've found that help, like just me be able to manage both at the same time, is to when you only have a select number of hours in the studio because you have 40 hours or maybe 20 hours outside of that you really, really can't give up, it really helps to have systems. And it's not the fun part, but if you set up your systems in the beginning, I found that that's really helpful. So setting up, how am I going to do my inventory and how am I going to budget for a new product type? So if I set up those systems ahead of time and I've got my spreadsheet, so every month I can update it and not be like freaking out when it's time to pay my sales taxes, that just eliminates a lot. Things in like bite-sized pieces are so much easier than when you're, when you have to do a large batch of things that you don't like. Another thing I do a lot that's helpful is I batch similar tasks. So, for example, rather than printing one card because it just sold on Etsy, I print 10 and then I put 9 away. And then next time or next couple times, I'm already set for that. And it saves time also because you're already in the motion of print, cut, fold, package. You can actually, if you do a batch of those, it actually takes less time than if you just do one at a time. So batching is really helpful for me. It also means I also batch photography for Instagram. I'll do that on the weekends and kind of save things. Hey, Stephanie, save things for later. And batching really helps as well when you have very limited time of when you can be working on your business. So that's my second thing. And then delegating when possible. I'm a control freak. I don't know if other people are. Oh, I shouldn't say freak. That's kind of a derogatory term. I'm a controlling type of person who loves being able to make sure every single thing is checked and perfect, like before it goes out the door to my customer. So it is hard for me to delegate things. But this last season, I did it for the first time. This is like my beginning of my 5th year in business, and I finally delegated something. I had my sister, who is a brilliant, she's brilliant in most things. She wrote all of my Etsy descriptions for my new products because she's a fantastic writer, and I didn't have to think about it. I did pay her, so that's important. But it was totally worth the time and budget I set aside for it. So, oh yes, I agree, Sarah. It can be a time sucker sometimes if you don't plan. At least just a little bit goes a long way. She knows. She also works and manages her own art business. You should definitely check out her work, Flourishing Fibers. She embroiders on wood. It's pretty incredible. So yes, delegating if possible. I know it's tough, but sometimes I'll even like offer pizza to friends to help me prep for a craft show, and we all package everything together. So there's a lot of ways you can do Sarah, there's a lot of ways that you can batch things and delegate those at the same time, and that also saves time. And the thing that I'm probably the worst at, but it's still like a really important tip, is downtime. Because if I'm working, and I'm going to be honest with you, I probably work about like 70 to 80 hours a week right now. Because I love Lacelet so much, it's worth it. But downtime's really important. So last year I had a pretty bad burnout actually, where I literally couldn't work Lacelet at all for about a month and a half because I completely burnt out. And since I couldn't obviously skip out on my other job, Lacelet just stopped. So that is not worth it. It wasn't healthy. I literally would go to work every day, come home, fall on the couch, watch Netflix until I fell asleep. It was really bad. So it's just not worth that. So finding downtime. So now my practice is I do go to work, come home. I take care of certain tasks on my lunch breaks and my 15-minute breaks that I get if I need to do that. And then when I get home, I plow into the studio time, but as soon as I start noticing that either I'm like moving my neck around a lot, or because I'm uncomfortable, I've been sitting there too long, or my eyes are tired from looking at the screen, or I'm sighing a lot. I tend to do that when I'm tired. I'm like a little kid who wipes their eyes and sighs a lot when I'm tired. Then I take those cues to mean you're done. Like, that's it. You can't keep doing that. So I've been trying to listen to that little voice and put it down, close the laptop, and then try to spend at least a half an hour before bed where I'm doing something fun. Lately, I've been listening to a podcast with my husband that's called, what is it called? Harry Potter and the Sacred Text. It's genius. They literally go through each chapter of the book with different themes and analyze it. And it's really good. So we've been listening to that podcast before bed. Sometimes I'll stretch during that time because that's probably a good idea. And or I'll read a book, or I'll be on Instagram because that's really relaxing for me. But I just try to really like unwind, so that when I close my eyes to go to sleep, it's not a, ugh, oh thank God. It's a like I'm ready to go to sleep. I don't know. It really makes a difference for me. So, oh, of course, Ray, you've listened to it already. Yes, Stephanie, it's a really great podcast. So those are my biggest tips for running a business while simultaneously working, because you know you have to do a good job at the job you have. They're paying you to be there, and I know it can be challenging to. You can't always compartmentalize where your energy is, but the more you can do it, the better. Oh, the name of the podcast was Harry Potter and the Sacred Text. It's quite good. You can get them wherever there are podcasts. Oh, thanks, Ray. So, does anyone have any questions specifically about that? Because I know a lot of us are doing multiple things. So I know that the comments are a little bit delayed. So I'll wait a little bit and come back to that if anybody has questions specifically related to running a business while having another job that you are, you know, managing as well. And then another thing that people were interested in was craft shows. I think that's a natural interest for this bunch. We have so many different handmade mediums in Art Stew, by the way. Art Stew is incredible. And craft shows are great. And Stone and Celeste, they are two of our members, two of the folks who are creating wonderful things in Art Stew. Stone had mentioned a question about if craft shows, if I found that craft shows are effective and worth the booth fee, and also, like, I guess he had heard that sometimes people will change their pricing for shows. So, first of all, I would say that there are two different types of, there's more than two. There are a couple different types of shows that you can do. There's like the large scale ones where you have to apply, and it's a pretty hefty booth fee to be there, a couple $100. They usually have a little bit more requirements. You have to apply, you have to submit work, and there's a jury that basically goes through all of the applicants and picks. So it's really keeping that quality quite high. And those shows are really nice, but they're more of a buy-in. So you definitely have to spend more. And there's a higher level expectation for your display as well. So you got to put a little bit more thought and time into that as well. And then there's also like the smaller local shows, which are usually close-knit, tight communities. A friend of mine is doing one in Redlands this week. She's actually part of Stew too, Shirley Fisher. And that show is a lot smaller in the sense of it's centered around a specific city and the artist there. So you get a lot of people coming out that are local, that want to support local artists. You get a different type of attendee that comes to those. So that can be really helpful too. You also have a lot of neighbors that would recognize you and want to support your work. So it's a different thing. And then there's like local pop-ups, like the small pop-up shops that pop up into brick and mortar businesses. And you basically like have a table and among other artists that have been brought in with you as well. And it's centered around usually a specific day. And so my general views on them are on art or craft shows. I've done several of them. Are that it's really helpful to walk the show before you do it. This is helpful because you get an idea of whether your work fits in with the type of things that are being sold and therefore the type of people who are attending that event. You can also get an idea of what the booths are doing price-wise and display-wise, so that you're kind of on par with that too. So that's really helpful to do ahead of time and research it. Talk to people who've done the show before and see if they had a good experience or not. To be fair, shows are really they're different every time. You could do the same show 3 times and 2 times were great, 1 time wasn't. So it all depends on so many factors. So I often give a show a couple tries before I like write it off. And yes, Ray mentioned this is one of my other favorite things about doing shows is you can watch people's reaction to your work. That's exactly what Ray just said. And this is a great way to do target market research. So you can try out new products with people. Maybe you only printed like 15 of a specific item, and you can just test it out without putting a lot of money into it and see how people respond. You can, try out new items. You can see what best sellers are. You can hear what people's comments are about your work, what they're looking for. If people are asking, hey, do you have thank you cards a lot? I need to make some thank you cards. Then you know what to focus on. So that's a big one. And let's see, another thing I would really recommend is if you do shows is to make sure that you have a mailing list sign up so that those customers can become lifelong customers and that you can reach them, because you might not do that show next year. They might not come next year. And you don't want to lose those people, especially if it's an item that they've gifted away. They don't have that logo most likely, or maybe they gave away your card to the person they gave it with. So retaining that information is super valuable, and I think one of the benefits of doing a show that aren't easily quantifiable as far as like was it a good did I make enough profit? So aside from that, I think it's also really helpful to reach new customers. You're just exposing your work to a broader group of people than you have access to through your shop or email or whatever. So that's helpful. And then also, you never know when opportunities will arise. I've gotten several commission requests through being at a show, and I've gotten actual brick and mortar shops become new stockists because they've asked, oh, do you do wholesale? And of course I'm prepared, so I have my catalog and I say, well, sure, I do. And I can immediately get their contact info and further that relationship. So Stone, to answer that question, it's really kind of up to you and what your goals are. I do set a monetary goal that I want to make back my booth fee, and then I XYZ, whatever that other goal is. Whether it's I want to double my booth fee or triple my booth fee, or I want to get this many people on my email list. I always set myself a goal so that I know whether I've made it. And that's how kind of I set my bar for whether it's worth my time. And for the other part of your question about the pricing difference, I've heard different things about this. I do know that some people will reduce their pricing or elevate their pricing depending on what city they're in when they're doing the show. And my take on that is it kind of sucks for the person who has to pay more just because of what city they live in, or the idea that they can afford to pay more. I tend to think like fair is fair, your price is your price, and that might not exactly have been what you were asking, but I do know that people do switch their prices around. So in my mind, I keep it the same, and I keep it the same as on my website as well. So if someone took my card and said, oh, I really want to buy that card, but my friend's standing with me right now, so I don't want to buy it in front of her because I'm going to send it to her. They take your card, they go to your website, and then it's like more expensive, or that could be confusing, more expensive or less expensive. So I just keep my pricing the same across the board. So that's my answer to that question. Oh, yes. Older crowds will respond differently than younger crowds. You've got to find your right people. This is so true. Yay. Thank you so much for that. Yes. You can also get a lot of information about who your best customers are, or not best customers, that sounds mean, but who your ideal customers are as far as what types of things they're interested in, what they're willing to talk about. Some people give me their life stories. I feel like being at a craft show in a booth is your opportunity to engage with the people who care about your work, and so I think it's really it's a really powerful opportunity. It's also nice for people to get to meet you who maybe have been following you for a while. I had someone come up last time at Renegade and say, literally had their phone with them and said, "Is this you?" And that felt really great. So it can also be really affirming to have people literally see your work and tell you that they love it. I think sometimes being an artist and working from home, you don't get that feedback as much. You get likes on things on your posts on social media, but it's really nice to have words from people, and that's also a way to another valuable aspect of craft shows. So if you have any questions about craft shows, let me know in the comments. And then I don't even know what time it is because I'm just having so much fun. I'm going to look at so it's already 7:09. Wow, we are plowing through. Oh, Ray said, "I've met kindred spirits every single time." It's so true. I was at my friend Shirley's show a little while back. She's Quiet Lions Design, also a Instagram handle you should check out. And it was really cool. I got to witness this incredible conversation. This woman that came up to her booth that I just was amazed. Like the questions she was asking and the insightfulness and how she resonated with Shirley's work was incredible. It was so clear that this woman had found in Shirley's brand something that it was as if it was made for her. And so yes, definitely I agree 100%, Ray. Like you can meet such kindred spirits through in-person interactions. So yes, I think as long as you do your homework and check out those craft shows maybe before you do it for the first time, that is setting yourself up for just reasonable expectations and knowing that kind of what your risks are and not and what your goals could be. So I think that's helpful. So yay. And then one of the other things that folks were interested in was asking about some of my favorite apps and tools for running a small business. And I wrote these down somewhere because, I don't know where my stuff is. I love apps and so anything that makes my the creative business process more time effective for me to get things done, that is important. So I want to share a couple of them for you. And Ian has a question about managing a shop on Etsy, so I'm going to get to that too. So one of my favorite apps right now is Mono, Mono. And that app is a hashtag library. It's changed my life. You can, by category, I think it gives you a certain number of categories free, and then you have to pay like $3.99. But then it's unlimited. So $4, that was the best $4 I've spent in a while. But basically, it allows you to, designate categories. So I have Lacelet. And I have hashtags that are just specifically related to Lacelet, which are mostly ones that I create. So like Lacelet Love and Lacelet Workshops and things like that. And then, yes, Ray and Sarah, it's going to change your life. It's so good. And then the nice thing is you plug them all in. So it's a little bit of work on the front end. But then every time you go to that category, you copy all. Like you could just copy all and immediately, like with one click. And immediately put them into your Instagram comment. So I have like various ones. So I have like slow living, like which is a theme that comes up a lot in my work about appreciating small moments and taking note of things that maybe seem mundane to other people, but or not mundane to other people, but might go unnoticed without focused time. So that's a theme that I constantly am showing in my feed. So I have a theme for that. I have a theme for nature. I have a theme for small business and all kinds of things. And home in the studio, that kind of thing. So there are so many different ways you can use it. I haven't even fully explored it yet. This was literally like, I think I've been using it for 2 weeks, but it's pretty wonderful. So check it out. So it's Mono in the App Store. #library. It's very, very effective. One of my other favorite apps is Plan with 2 N's, Plann. I'm not sure why it's misspelled. That's my grammar guru geekness in there. But it's wonderful. And you basically can plan out, it gives you a grid and you can put in various images that you're thinking about. Oh, yeah, you use Plan too. That you're thinking about using in your feed so that you can kind of curate the way it looks overall. And you can like drag and drop to move them around. So you can go, oh, I don't like that one, there's too much green. You can move it over one and put, something else in the middle. And it also shows you, I think, the last, I'm going to mess up the number, but it shows you the last, I'm just going to make one up, 10 to 15 images that you've actually posted on Instagram. So it does link up. So you can see what's already there so that you know what you want to do in the future. And then you just import your photos, you can move them around. You can also draft your caption on the image. So you could put that all in, and you can even set an alarm that tells you what time you're supposed to post this. And then when the alarm goes off, you post it and you're done. It does not post for you because for the longest time, that's against policies for Instagram. So you can't have a third-party app post for you. I heard a rumor that that's changed, or it's changed for businesses or something, but don't quote me on that because I don't know the status on it. But it's really handy to give to help your Instagram feed have a visual cohesion to it. So Plan, that's my other favorite. For those of you who do freelance work and need to track your time on projects, Toggl, Toggl. That's an app that tracks your time. You could literally put the timer on, do your work, and when you're done, stop the timer, and it calculates, and you could do it by project. So even if I did it 10 minutes today or this morning, 20 minutes in the evening, 50 minutes the next day, it's going to put it to the program or to the project, and you can get a tally and report the time. So if you have to give, you're working on a commission and you have to give an accurate time of how much time you've spent because you're hourly for that project, that's a really great way to do it. That's what I did for the books when I was working on these, because it was impossible if, for me to just have a piece of paper and just write everything down and calculate it. It was so much easier for me to make mistakes. So having that where I just literally push the button and it pauses for me was really, really helpful. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure, Ray, on that question. Yeah, that's quite possible, especially since the merge with Facebook. I don't know if some of those policies shifted. Yes, and Toggl, yes, Toggl. Another misspelled word. It's funny, I guess that must be like a trend to have a quirky spelling on your app. Another app that I really love, actually it's not an app, it's kind of a website service, is Etsy Rank. And Ian, this might be good if you're interested in starting an Etsy. Etsy Rank is basically a service that assesses issues like spelling errors, number of tags per listing, posts that have less than 10 images, and basically tells you, hey, these listings on your shop could be better. So they give you kind of a ranking and you know what to fix. So that's a really helpful website I've found, because basically I had my website up, or my Etsy shop up, for a couple years, and it takes forever to go into every single listing and try to find what you're looking for, or try to find little errors and fix them. So Etsy Rank does that for you in that. Oh, I love all of I make up my own words. Yes, that's so great. Flickr, Tumblr. Yeah, it's a thing. I always thought it was funny. There's a shop. I don't even remember what it was, but it's basically, there's no reason to misspell them, but just because it's for kids, they spell it with a K instead of a C or something like that. It's like, well, I think kids should know how to spell. So that's my personal side note take on that. I also love, I should mention V. Oh, yes. Ian, it's Etsy Rank. Rank. Rank, exactly how you spelled it. Another app I love is V for Video, VEE for Video. And that app does hyperlapse videos. I know you can do hyperlapse videos with the Instagram app as well. I don't know if is it tied to Instagram? I don't remember. But I like V for video because you can do it has a little bit more functionality, and you can change some of the aspects of how you want it to look. The speed you want it to have, if you want to keep it a certain time. There's a couple different things you can do with it. So that is, hyperlapse is where you videotape yourself in real time and then you speed it up. So you've got that like fast motion fun aspect that you can also post in your Instagram, because you can do a smaller amount of seconds without it being a really long video of someone watching 3 hours of you painting. So that's a really fun app too, V for video. And then I'll end with my favorite photo editing app, which is VSCO. VSCO. And that allows you can photograph images in there as well. It serves as a camera. Oh, hey, Brandon. Lost my train of thought. I was excited to see Brandon. Let's see. You can photograph images within the app. I actually photograph mine in the camera app on my phone because I think the quality is a little bit better, and you can adjust contrast and stuff as you're taking the photo before you import it into VSCO. Yeah, Ian knows about VSCO. He's a great photographer. Check him out. So VSCO allows you to do a lot of different types of editing. You can adjust the saturation, the contrast, the hue. So if you tend to photograph at night when there's a lot of yellow light because it's not natural light, you can, reduce that to keep it a little bit less yellow. You can crop, you can change the perspective if you want to kind of tilt the image forward or back or side to side. I see a question. Have you noticed plan affecting the quality of your photos at all? I haven't, but I don't think so. I haven't noticed that, but I could look more closely. I'm wondering if is that happening to you? That's interesting. I wonder if the camera I wonder if there's a setting where you could designate what, resolution or something like that. Yeah, sorry, I don't know. Hasn't happened to me so far. So those are some of my favorite resources that I use for my business regularly. There's also Square, which is great for for swiping credit cards at events and shows. And if there's no internet while you're there, no Wi-Fi, you can even save that credit card number to then run it after the show when you're back at home. So that's a really handy thing. Those are some of my favorite apps. Oh, yeah, maybe it could be the camera. Oh, good night, Stephanie. Thanks so much for joining. Yay. So before I end or open up to like the last final questions, I wanted to get back to Ian's question, which was managing your Etsy shop. I do think it's great to have a .com website, even if you don't have your shop on there yet, like me, because it's a great place to direct people so that they see your brand and only your brand. When you do direct people to your Etsy shop, they could get lost in a rabbit hole and not even like maybe look at your page for 3 seconds and they get distracted. Whereas if you have your own .com, you're able to cater everything that they're seeing to exactly what you want. So you can have a portfolio, you could have your social media feeding on there, you can have a blog, etc. So I'm in the process of building my own shop on my .com. It's not launched yet, but have my Etsy going. And I really do love what Etsy's done for me as far as starting my business. I think it's a great place to start. One of the best things about Etsy is the shipping. You can print all of your shipping labels there and add a discounted price, I believe, for the shipping labels. They have a lot of options for that. You can ship internationally, and they literally print out. You type in the address or the address that's already in there from the order, and it will give you the form for any paperwork you need to do for sending overseas. So it makes it so easy. It also calculates, you can just calculate sales tax, put in the tax it'll put in the tax automatically, and you can take care of that. It's a great way to also be found by people who might not know you exist yet. So there are people who are Etsy fans and they go shopping there first, and they could find your work that way. So I definitely do think it's a really great way to start out, but I do think it's important to have your own website. Oh yes. A place where you actually own your own website that's not Etsy, so that you can really show people what you're about, and to eventually have a shop on your website is really great. So that's what I'm working towards right now, but I know it is steps. As far as Etsy optimization and things like that, that's a whole big thing, and I do have some tips on that. So Ian, if you are interested, or anyone else is interested in some resources about Etsy, I can direct you to the places where I found the most help with that. So, all that to say, we got through a lot of small biz topics tonight. There were more in the Facebook group, so maybe we could do another one in the future. But if you have any last minute questions for me, oh, thanks for all the hearts. Go ahead and pop them in the comments. I also want to let you know that I'm thinking about doing a segment on my email newsletter that's more for business owners, for me to share new apps that I've found, or different resources that might be helpful and things like that. So if you're interested in doing that, or getting that information, sorry, I'm getting distracted by the comments, and my communication is going down. But if you're interested in that, or would like to know of any of the topics we talked about earlier, I do have a full small business guide that I've created. And if you're interested in that, go ahead and DM me your email address, or you can just email me at hello@lacelit.com, and I can get that to you or answer any additional questions. Who are you going with to set up your shop? Oh, so my current website is with Wix, and I know there's some folks out there that are kind of like not into Wix. I've been with Wix since the beginning, and I love it because it for somebody who loves as much control as I do, I can literally take an image and do like fudge it to the left like half an inch. I can do anything I want on every single part of my website. So feel free to look at lacelit.com and you can see what it can do. Yeah, Brandon, use Wix. And I've been looking at their shop. It looks like I only have 2 minutes left before they're going to cut me off to the broadcast. But yes, I've really loved Wix, and so far I've been building my shop with Wix and I'm enjoying it. And it seems very easy to use. So I can give you more info on that too, Sarah, if you're interested. But since I already built my shop and put so much or my website and put so much time into that, I want to stick with them for the shop too. So nice. Yeah, we can have a Wix discussion. Okay, so everybody, I am going to go ahead and close this out. Thank you so much for joining me and geeking out with me about small business. Again, DM me with any other questions. You can find me at Lacelit on Instagram. I'm in Art Stew all the time, and in the Facebook group hosting games on Mondays. So I will see you again very soon. Thank you so much, everyone, and for all the encouragement. It's so great to have people that I recognize, all of you lovely faces here to cheer me on. I love it. Oh, thank you. Yay. Oh, I love it. Okay, thank you so much, and thank you to Ray and the Artsy community for putting on these Tuesday tips and inviting me to be part of it. I had such a lovely time. So, wishing you and your small business well, and everybody a lovely, creative, and relaxing evening. Bye.